The smell of paint still clung to Clara's fingers when the email arrived. Her heart raced as she clicked it open. Brookdale Art Academy. She had waited weeks for this. Her dream, her chance. But the moment she read the first line, "We regret to inform you," her stomach dropped. The screen blurred as tears filled her eyes. She had worked for months sketching late into the night, ignoring parties, skipping meals, believing that passion alone could open doors. Now all she felt was silence. Her sketchbooks lay scattered across her room, pages filled with dreams that suddenly looked foolish. Her mom tried to comfort her. "You're so talented, Clara. Maybe next year, Clara snapped, her voice breaking. "I gave everything this year." For days, she barely left her room. The pencils stayed untouched. The once vibrant walls, covered in her artwork, now looked like reminders of failure. She scrolled endlessly through social media, watching other artists post their bright, perfect work. Each post felt like a knife twisting deeper. One night, unable to sleep, she wandered to her desk. The moonlight caught the corner of an old sketchbook, the one she'd kept since childhood. Inside were messy doodles of animals, fairies, and flowers drawn with clumsy hands, but a happy heart. She flipped through the pages slowly, smiling through tears. There was something innocent in those imperfect drawings, something she had lost. She whispered to herself, "You used to draw because you loved it, not because someone had to approve it." After a long pause, she picked up her pencil again. Her hand trembled, the lines wobbled, but she didn't stop. She drew a single tulip, leaning toward the light. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even good. But for the first time in weeks, it made her feel alive. The next morning, sunlight spilled softly across Clara's desk. The little tulip she'd drawn the night before sat on the page, simple, uneven, but somehow comforting. She smiled faintly. "Maybe one more," she murmured, sharpening her pencil. She drew a teacup this time. Then the next day, a bird on her windowsill. By the end of the week, her sketchbook had 3 new drawings. None were perfect, but each one felt like a step away from the emptiness that had swallowed her since the rejection. Her mom noticed. "You're drawing again," she said with a gentle smile. Clara shrugged. "Just one a day. It helps me think." Soon, one a day became a rule she quietly lived by. Rain or shine, tired or inspired, she sat by her desk every evening and drew something. A window, a leaf, her brother's sneakers. Some days she only had 10 minutes. Other days, hours slipped by without her noticing. At first, she didn't realize what was happening. Her strokes became smoother, her imagination sharper. She began seeing beauty in things she'd once ignored. The swirl of milk in her coffee, the pattern of shadows on her wall, the wrinkles on her mom's hands. The world wasn't dull anymore. It was full of stories waiting to be sketched. One evening, she decided to post a few drawings online. She didn't expect anyone to notice, but a few strangers commented, "So calming. Your art feels honest." This made my day. For the first time in months, Clara didn't feel invisible. Days turned into weeks. Each page of her sketchbook became a quiet promise to herself to keep going, even when no one was watching. She stopped worrying about being great and started focusing on being consistent. One night, as she flipped through her sketchbook, she realized something powerful. The girl who once quit after rejection was now showing up every day, without needing anyone's permission to continue. She touched the page softly and whispered, "Maybe it's not about being talented. Maybe it's about not giving up." And with that, she picked up her pencil again, ready for tomorrow's drawing. By the second month, Clara's little ritual had become part of her life. Her online sketches were gathering attention, likes, comments, even small requests. "Your drawings make me feel calm," one stranger wrote. It warmed her heart, but deep down, another feeling started to creep in: pressure. Now, every time she sat to draw, A voice whispered, "What if today's isn't as good as yesterday's?" The joy she once found in drawing quietly began to fade. One rainy evening, she opened her sketchbook and froze. Her pencil hovered over the page, but nothing came out. Every idea felt flat, lifeless. After hours of trying, she slammed her pencil down. "Why can't I draw anymore?" she muttered, tears welling in her eyes. The next day, she didn't draw. One skipped day became 2, then 3. Her rhythm was gone. The guilt stung like a familiar wound, one she thought she'd healed from. She began to think maybe the art school had been right about her after all. On the 4th day, as she sat staring blankly at her desk, her little brother walked in, clutching one of her old sketches, a clumsy drawing of their dog from weeks ago. "I love this one," he said proudly. "It makes him look so happy." Clara looked at him, stunned. That drawing wasn't technically good. It was crooked, uneven, but it had emotion. It had life. When her brother left, she picked up the sketch. For the first time, she saw it differently. Not as a failure, but as something real. Maybe art isn't about being flawless, she thought. Maybe it's about feeling something, and helping others feel it too. That night, she returned to her desk. Her hands still felt heavy, her heart uncertain, but she drew a small candle flickering in the dark. When she finished, she smiled faintly. The flame wasn't perfect, but it was still burning, and so was she. A few weeks later, Clara sat at her favorite corner cafe with her sketchbook open beside a half-finished cappuccino. Drawing there had become her quiet escape. The hum of chatter, the smell of roasted coffee beans, and the sunlight streaming through the glass made her feel alive again. That morning, she was sketching an elderly man reading a newspaper by the window. His wrinkled hands, the slight curve of his smile, she wanted to capture the calm in that moment. She was so focused that she didn't notice someone watching from a nearby table. When she finally looked up, a woman approached her with a kind smile. "That's beautiful," she said. "You drew that just now?" Clara blinked, startled. "Oh, yes, just a quick sketch." The woman introduced herself as Emily Carter, an editor from a small publishing company that specialized in children's books. "I couldn't help but notice your art," she said, flipping gently through Clara's sketchbook with permission. "Your drawings have a quiet warmth. They tell stories without needing words." Clara's heart pounded. Compliments from strangers were one thing, but this woman worked in publishing. "Thank you," she said nervously. "I just draw every day for practice," Emily smiled. "That's exactly why I'm interested. We're looking for an illustrator for a new children's book series, something simple, honest, full of emotion. Would you be open to sending me a few samples?" Clara froze. "Me? For a book?" The same doubts she thought she'd buried rose again. "I'm not sure I'm ready," she whispered. Emily placed a business card on the table. "You'll never feel ready, but send them anyway." When she left, Clara stared at the card for a long time. Her hands trembled, her heart raced. The world suddenly felt big again, filled with both fear and possibility. For days, she couldn't decide. She drew, erased, redrew. The thought of rejection haunted her, but every time she opened her sketchbook, she saw the candle she had drawn weeks ago, the one flickering despite the dark. One evening, she gathered 3 of her favorite drawings, scanned them carefully, and sent them to Emily with a short message. "Thank you for believing in my work. Here are a few samples." Her finger hovered over the send button for a full minute before she clicked it. Then she sat back, heart pounding, whispering to herself, "No matter what happens, I did it. I showed up." Days turned into a week. Then, one morning, her phone buzzed. It was an email from Emily. The subject line read, "We'd love to work with you, Clara." The excitement of being chosen quickly turned into pressure. Clara had dreamed of this moment for so long, but now that it was real, fear began to shadow every line she drew. The project was a children's book called The Little Cloud Who Learned to Rain. It was a story about patience and growth, But Clara couldn't stop worrying about perfection. Every drawing felt like a test. She spent hours sketching the same cloud, erasing and redrawing it until her hand cramped. "It's not right," she whispered. "It's never right." The joy that once flowed through her pencil now felt forced. She wasn't drawing anymore, she was trying not to fail. Days blurred into sleepless nights. Coffee cups piled on her desk. She barely ate, barely spoke, afraid she wouldn't meet expectations. At one point, overwhelmed, she pushed away from her desk and muttered, "Maybe I shouldn't have said yes." That evening, her mom peeked in and placed her hand on Clara's shoulder. "Sweetheart, remember when you drew just for yourself? You didn't care if it was perfect. You just cared that it was yours." Her mother's words lingered. Clara opened her old sketchbook, the one filled with daily drawings. They were simple, flawed, even messy, but alive. Each page carried emotion that no amount of perfection could replace. She took a deep breath, pulled a clean sheet of paper from the pile, and whispered, "Forget perfect. Just draw the story." For the next week, she worked differently. Her lines became freer, her characters softer, her clouds full of heart. When she sent the final illustrations to Emily, she didn't expect praise, just relief. But Emily's reply read, "You've brought the story to life. Clara, your art makes people feel." For the first time in months, Clara smiled not from success, but from rediscovering herself. The book released 3 months later. When Clara held the first printed copy in her hands, she traced her name on the cover, illustrated by Clara Evans. Her chest tightened, not with pride, but disbelief. Every page told not just the story of the little cloud, but her own, of doubt, failure, and the courage to keep showing up. Messages began to pour in from parents, teachers, even children who loved her soft, heartfelt drawings. One mother wrote, "My daughter said your clouds make her happy on sad days." That single line brought tears to Clara's eyes. She had finally made someone feel what she once felt through art. Hope. Weeks later, she was invited to speak at Brookdale Art Academy, the very school that had rejected her. Standing before a room of young artists, she smiled. "Consistency," she said, "isn't about drawing perfectly. It's about drawing when you don't want to. It's about choosing effort over excuses." The room fell silent. Dozens of eyes stared back, wide with belief. Afterward, a shy girl approached her. "I get frustrated when my art doesn't look good," she whispered. Clara smiled and handed her a small pencil. "Then draw again tomorrow," she said softly. "That's how you get there." That night, Clara sat by her window, sketchbook open. The moonlight touched her pages as her pencil moved in steady rhythm. She smiled and thought, "Consistency didn't just change my art, it changed me."